Good day and welcome to this Wednesday webinar, which is going to be a bit of a different webinar than you are used to, because we're going to talk about how to get ready for the Fleet Manager of the Year 2023. And what we would like to do is to share some tips on how you can write a winning application. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Roos van Stijn. I'm the Development Director with Fleet Forum, and I'm happy to see that some of you are already here. I know that quite a number of people have signed up, so I'll give it one more minute, but then we will start. In the meantime, feel free to use the chat box, and if someone can let me know if you can hear me okay, that would be helpful as well. I see that Moses already sort of started to introduce himself. Please feel free to do that. Thanks, John. Like I said, I'll give it 1 minute and then we will start. Super. Okay. For this webinar, like we do with all our webinars, we have enabled the Q&A mode. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat, and then at the end of the webinar, we will pick it up. So today, what I would like to discuss with you is the Fleet Manager of the Year Award 2023, which Fleet Forum is organizing now for the third year in a row. Fourth year in a row. We have already 3 winners and we will meet them soon. And this award ceremony, or this award, is sponsored by UPS, for which we are very grateful, because it sort of shows that they see the value in fleet managers and the value of what fleet managers can bring to the organization. Now, from your attendance here in the webinar, I hope that it is because you are interested to apply for the award, and we really encourage you to do so. And we also want to give you some tips on how to do that, and to sort of prevent you from maybe falling into some barriers, or to make the most of your application to win the award. So let me go to it. So here, meet our 3 previous winners. So we started the Fleet Manager of the Year Award in 2020, and that's when Ebuka from WHO in Maiduguri in Nigeria won. Followed by the winning application in 2021 by Walter Valles Bonilla from the Red Cross in Costa Rica. And last year we had our first female winner, which was Miranda Shami, also from WHO Jordan. So we asked them in preparation for this webinar, so what would you recommend, and why should people apply for the award? And this is what they said. I mean, they had a lot to say, but I've underlined some of the things that struck out, or that were interesting to see. Is first, Ebuka mentioned that it was a huge sense of achievement. And he also mentioned that his work with the team, that sometimes goes a little bit unseen, is having a great impact if you win the award, because you do get recognition from fleet professionals around the globe. Walter was and that was more from a personal perspective, right? That's what Ebuka felt. Now, Walter approached it from the organizational perspective, where he said, well, if your organization wins the award, it puts it really on the map of being a professional organization, and where it's recognized as being one of the best in terms of fleet management. So that is what Walter has to say. And finally, we asked Miranda, what would be your recommendation for your colleague fleet managers to participate? And she mentioned things like, Fleet Forum is giving the opportunity to show your work, and you then also have the chance to reflect on your work and get recognition from your colleagues and the network. So these are 3 different opinions, 3 different views on why it is interesting to participate, and why and what winning means to the former participants. And what we do see here is that it gives you recognition, it gives you a sense of, okay, this is how other organizations, other colleagues are valuing the work that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. So that is sort of what the former winners want to give to you. Now, so if you are going to apply for the Fleet Manager of the Year Award 2023, then we have a couple of criteria. So the first one is, and it's not a lot of criteria, but it is good to know them. You should write an application that demonstrates that you took the opportunity to change the way your organization operated the vehicle fleet. And so this means that if you write an application describing what you are doing and what you have been doing for the last 10 years, and where there is no new things and where there is no new approaches, that is not what we are looking for. We are looking for the way how you looked at your fleet, how you said, okay, I want to change this. I want to change the way how we are operating, and that then has a result. So keep that in mind. This year, the focus will be specifically on actions that you take that lead to reduction of fleet emissions. So maybe you have started to do vehicle sharing projects, or maybe you have started to really analyze the utilization of your fleet. Maybe you have looked at, okay, if I can partner with another NGO, can we then reduce the emissions? So it is not that we are not taking other applications into account, but we do have a specific focus on fleet emission reduction. And what you need to describe is how you changed the way your organization operated the fleet. Then what we would like to see in the application is that you showed leadership. And for those of you who have been in our leadership webinars, leadership doesn't come with a title, right? Everybody can be a leader. So basically what this means is, how did you take your team, your stakeholders, the users of your vehicles, how did you take them in this journey to make the change? So that is what we are looking for, and describe that. And of course, then the last one is that your application should demonstrate that you innovated your fleet operations. Now, innovation, it doesn't mean that it needs to be something completely new. It can also be an innovation on an existing process, or an existing approach, or an existing way of operating. So these are the 3 main criteria. And then the other one, which is also important, is that you need to be able to provide data that shows what you have been doing before. So let's say the before situation, during and after. And I will get back to the importance of data later on, but keep in mind that you can have a great story, but if you cannot substantiate that with data, then we will not take it into consideration, right? So I've put on the website where you can find these criteria, and I will have that website later on the page. Now, some tips for you if you are interested in writing an application for the award. Okay, so the first one is, give yourself enough time. You have until the 31st of October 2023, so you still have time to decide, okay, A, do I want to participate? B, what will be my topic? What will I describe? What data do I have? Give yourself enough time. Don't wait until the last week or maybe even the last day to write it, because it will take some time. You might want to go through a couple of iterations of your application to say, okay, now I'm completely satisfied. Now I'm confident that the application that I have right now on paper is what I want to send in to Fleet Forum. So that is one. That's the first tip that I have for you. Now, the second one is to stay on point, as they call it. Avoid giving mixed messages. So when you write your story, when you write your application, make sure that you are not contradicting yourself, that you are not saying, okay, well, we have started this project and then, oh, we didn't start this project, but really stay on the point. If your application is around the reduction of emissions, do not go into, okay, and we also increased safety and that this and that did that. Stay on point, make it strong on 1 point or 2 points, but do not enter in all different roads to make let's say a fuzzy story. So avoid giving mixed messages is important. Then don't skip questions. In our application, we have 3 questions, and the 3 questions are around the 3 criteria that I just shared. Now, what we see sometimes is that people either skip the questions, so they answer question 1 and they don't answer question 2, or they use the same answer for all the questions. That is not what we are looking for. The questions are really distinct. So it is, okay, what is the innovation that you have made? How have you showed leadership? And then how have you changed the way in how you are operating the fleet? So these are very distinct questions. So really stick to these questions and give different answers because there are different topics. Give different answers to these questions. So in our application, we have set a word count. What we do with all the applications, so we do first a review to see, okay, are all the questions answered? Is there data to substantiate the questions? And then we invite a jury to look at the applications. Let's say the applications that make the first sort of round. We don't want to waste the jury's time on long stories. So that's why we have a word count. And I believe the word count is 300 words, which is good, which is fair enough. Now, stick to this word count, but also, in this case, less is not more. You need to remember that the jury doesn't know your organization. They don't know the specific operating environment. So you need to paint a picture for them with your story to be able that the jury is sort of envisioning what you have achieved. So stick to the word count, but also don't try to shorten it and assume that the jury knows everything. The jury doesn't know. The jury wants to read and they want to have a clear picture, saying, okay, this is what this fleet manager has done, and this is a great achievement, right? So make sure that you paint the right picture using just enough words for other people who are not working in your organization can sort of imagine what is happening there. And a great way to do that is to write your application and let somebody else outside of the organization, maybe your friend or a total stranger, read your application. And if they can sort of tell what happened and they can tell the right story, then you know that you have at least a good story and that you've used the right words. Then, talking about telling a story, we often, because we are, as fleet managers, we are all sort of in a more technical function, right? And we often try to make our stories, or we often tell a very technical story. We have this number of vehicles, and we have We have this is the motor, the engine capacity and stuff like that, which is not always the best way to tell the story, the impact that your achievement had on the organization, on beneficiaries, etc. So when you write your application, make sure that you tell it in the form of a story. So and you can do that by following the truth test, and the truth test is the truth is sort of the abbreviation of the 5 words that you see on screen. So first of all, make sure that your story is topical. So make sure that the story is important in the context of fleet management. Then make sure that your story is relevant. So what makes what you have been doing, the change that you made, the innovation that you led with the leadership that you provided, what makes this interesting for other people? And think about it, interesting for other people inside and outside of your organization. Also, it needs to be unusual. Aim to provoke people, aim to trigger people where they think like, oh, this is cool, or oh, I want to learn more, I want to know what has happened here. So aim to provoke people. If you're going to send in an application saying, oh, I'm the fleet manager of this and this organization, and I'm exercising every week maintenance checks, that's not going to interest people, because everybody is doing that and everybody will be doing that for the next 10 years. So make it provoking, identify what makes your story different, and what other people can learn from it. Now, find some trouble in your story. So find a conflict in the story. Identify what was the problem. The problem can be that you were having overaged vehicles that were causing too much that were creating too much pollution or too much emissions. Then what was your solution? How have you handled that? So you need, in your story, find a conflict, and the conflict is often the problem that you have solved by leading change and by being innovative in your fleet management. And then last but not least, make it a human story, make it about people. So describe and paint a picture of how what you have done has brought benefits to your colleagues or your beneficiaries or other road users, maybe donors, but make it a personal story, and describe what people have been saying, capture that, use quotes from people. That always helps. So all in all, what we, as a tip, what we would like people, what we would like you to do when you write your application is make sure that it passes the truth test. Topical, relevant, unusual, creating some trouble, being some provocative, and make it human. Okay. Then an important one. Quantify your results. We have received many applications over the last years, and sometimes we do receive files and files of Excel sheets with lists of vehicles and data, and then the applicant is expecting our jury to analyze the data. The jury doesn't do that. The jury wants to see, this is what this person has been doing, this is what the graph or the visual shows me, this is what has happened in this operation because of the change that you have been making. So make sure that it is really easy for the jury to capture that. The jury doesn't want to go through your Excel files and finding, okay, well, we see here a decrease, but there I also see an increase. No, make sure that the results from the data is crystal clear, and also show the results. And you can be very, very creative. Use graphs, use pictures, use quotes. You can even use video messages. So be creative in how you how you quantify your results. Then another one on the data is that if you show the jury or us a change that happens overnight, let's say you use the data to over a period of maybe 1 month, we will not take that into consideration, because a change must be longer lasting, right? So for example, if you describe a change, let's say you have put in place a very innovative training for people in your organization, so to make something happen, then we want to see their behavior before the training. We want to see the behavior right after the training, but we also want to see the change in behavior over a longer period of time, because that's how we measure impact, right? And that's how we look at, okay, this change, did this innovation, did my leadership led to a result, or lead to a result that I wanted. So again, two important messages here is be creative. So use graphs, make it visual, the change that you have achieved. Do not make the jury analyze your data. So that's a very important one. And then so actually three tips. The last one is make sure that it is data that demonstrates what was the situation before, during, and after. So these are the things that I wanted to share. Don't make writing the application an individual thing. So get your staff and your co-workers involved. Share with them that you want to write the application. Ask them for contributions, ask them for their input. They might have ideas from different types of angles that you can take. So get people involved, because people are usually liking that. And also it will instill some pride with your staff and your co-workers, that you think that the change that you have been going through is important enough to show to the whole world and write an application for. But also because they might come up with ideas on okay, what angle can you take, what data can you provide, what topics can you mention in the application, and it makes your application stronger. And then, last but not least, before you send us your application, read it out loud. Read it so that you really can feel like, okay, am I telling a story? Do I stay on topic? Is this logical? Does it make sense? Can somebody who's not in my organization understand it? And the more, if you read it out loud, then it also becomes more your story, and you can also see, oh, well, I'm using now language that I would never use. It's much too formal or informal, depending on your personal writing style. But read it out loud, so that through, by reading it, you can also find mismatches or things that are conflicting. So do that before you send it in. And also ask a colleague to proofread. Ask a colleague to proofread, so that, like we said before, they can take out the mistakes, the typos, the contradictions in your story. So do ask that before you apply and before you send in the submission. So I think that was it from my side. Now, are there any questions? I'm not sure if I saw questions in the... And I realize that this is a bit of a different webinar than we normally do, but then maybe a question to you before we finish off. So how many of you on the call are thinking about applying for the awards? I just maybe maybe people got scared from all my tips and my do's and don'ts. Hannes, oh la la. So, Hannes, Moses, good. Planning to, George, great. Super. And yeah, maybe some of you are still debating, right? So that's also good. Now, like I said, the submission, the date to apply for the Fleet Manager of the Year award ends on the 31st of October. So you still have time. Don't wait too long. If you make the decision to apply, then start at least um, um, to start to capture your ideas, to write down phrases that you want to use, stuff like that, and then slowly make sure that you write and submit the whole application. I see we have questions. Let me put them on screen. Do we have a structured template doc form? Yes, we do. So if you go to the website, and I will post the link in the chat in a minute. If you go to the website, www.fleetforum.org, Fleet Manager of the Year, there you will find the application. You will also find the criteria there. You will find the application form, and you can fill it in and then send it to us. And then what is the link? Yep, let me share the link with you in a minute. That might be the easiest one. Let me see. Here we go. So it is in the chat right now, so you can easily copy paste it and then, well, maybe you want to keep it as a bookmark so that you can look at it at a later stage. Any other questions? Let me see. No more questions. Okie doke. Then what I want to encourage you is start your application now. Like I said, even if it is just gathering ideas or discussing it with colleagues. Here you also see the website on the page. And I want to maybe end with one of the quotes that Miranda gave us last year's winner, is when she said, okay, whether you win or not, you're already a winner by doing the work you're already good at. Don't miss the opportunity. So, and I think that is a nice way of ending this. I see we have another question. Before we end, let me go back to John. Can there be more than one entry from the same organization? Yes, there can be more entries. Unlike the Best Transport Achievement Award, that is more geared towards the organization. This one is really to recommend the fleet manager, so the fleet manager and their operations in the field. So if you have more than one good applicants, feel free to send them in, and then the jury has the difficult task to make their decision and to shortlist. Okay, that was it for this Wednesday. I really look forward to receive applications. If you have any question related to how to apply, feel free to drop me an email. That's never a problem, and I look forward to receive your applications. Next week, we are back with a more regular webinar where we will address safety management specifically for motorbike fleets. We know that a lot of organizations are operating motorbikes, and we thought it would be nice to talk about how do we manage that in a safe way and in a safe and secure way. So hope to see you then. For now, enjoy your day and look forward to meeting you the next time. Thanks a lot.